So welcome to another episode on the Puma, the turbo build. So today we're going to get the manifold finalised before we start working on the downpipe. So this is Derek's Puma, and the goal with this one is to just develop some cheap and cheerful hot parts kits using a log manifold. So over here we've got the log manifold that I started to build a year or so ago now. We've caught up on a bit of work, so we're just going to dedicate a few days and just try and button this build up. So a basic log manifold, cheap, cheerful, it works. For the sort of power goals the standard engine will take before needing to forge. You know, with log manifold we're going to get there. This is the takeoff I put on, so we can then put the flange on. So we're using a T25. This particular unit is a Garrett unit off a 200SX. It's a mock-up unit because it's pretty much dead. What given this, so we're going to base all of our measurements and our patterns off this. So I have started this video a bit late. I've already started to do bits on the manifold to get it finalised. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get a hole saw. We're just going to chop this piece out, and then we can clean it up, weld the inside, and then we can finally weld a turbo flange on and get it mounted to the engine. Now another tip for you fabricators out there is at the minute we've got two types of fillet on the table. We've got 308, which is our stainless to stainless, and we've got some 309, which is our stainless to mild steel filler rod. Now when obviously they do come stamped on the end with the types, obviously this is 309, so it's stamped 309. The issue is that if you start to weld that end, you lose the identity of the rod. So what I like to do, just get a set of pliers, just get the end and just fold the end over like that. Then I know that all the filler rod on the table that's got this little bit on the end is 309. So that's so I don't use the wrong filler rod for the wrong job. That's the manifold all done. So the next job is to bolt this mock-up turbo onto there and then bolt it back to the engine, and then we can actually start to do the downpipe. That's the manifold and turbo one. We've actually got plenty of room down there still, so I'm really happy with that. We've got enough room for our intake and our charge pipes to the intercooler, and then we should have enough room there to get a 2.5 inch downpipe done. So let's just send it up in the air and let's have a look from the bottom. So underneath now, turbo's mounted up. I think we're going to be able to squeeze a 2.5 inch downpipe off that turbo. Now, ignore the fact that the compressor outlet is pointing towards the drive shaft. We are going to use a cheap Chinese T25 copy on this. And a good thing with those is that the compressor cover is drilled in 6 spots, so you can cock the compressor housing while still be able to mount the actuator and wastegate bracket without fucking about too much. So for now we're gonna ignore the fact that the compressor covers like that, and we're just going to turn our attention to the exhaust side of things. I really want to try and get the downpipe done today, so let's cut some material up and see what we can fit in there. So I've got a 2.5 inch 1D bend here, and what I'm going to do is we're going to cut the leg off about roughly where my thumb is. At the minute it doesn't fit, so I'm hoping by the time we cut the leg off, that's going to give us enough room to get that in there and see what sort of reducer we need to make to go from the 2 inch outlet of the flange to 2.5 inch of the tube work. So this is what I've cobbled up so far for the downpipe. Now we've got a 2 to 3 inch little short reducer that I've managed to make on my swaging machine, and it clears what appears to be the power steering pump now. So we can just put this in. So yeah, that clears it. Now the reason we need that reducer is so it clears the tubing of the studs. Otherwise it'd be a bit of an arsehole to actually bolt it on. So what I need to do now is we're going to go and cut the leg off the other side of this, and then we'll see if we can snake a downpipe down and round to meet up to this flange here. So yeah, it's coming on nicely. So here's where we are with the downpipe. I've just cut another leg off a 2.5 inch 1D, and now we've got about a good inch clearance between the drive shaft and 1.5 inch between the steering rack, and there's a bracket just behind the tubing. You can probably just see there right centre of the shop, but that's a bracket which holds the power steering line to the pump. Now it had about 10mm of clearance, and I've just gave it a love tap with a soft hammer just to give it, you know, now I've got about 20mm of clearance, so we've gained about 5mm from doing that. So I think by the time I've got another 90-degree bend on here, we'll have the downpipe pointing down, and hopefully we can then start to go backwards with it and join it up to this lovely rusty flange. So I've managed to suss out the rest of the downpipe. So with this 45 with an extended leg and this 90 here, we get it pointing roughly at this angle here. But before I get too far ahead with everything, I'm going to quickly whip off the turbo and manifold with this downpipe. I'm going to weld this very short section up first before I weld the rest up. Otherwise it's just going to be a bit of a mess to get in there and weld everything looking nice. So yeah, let's put the ramp down and whip that off quickly and get it welded up. So it's the morning after, I'm tired as fuck, but this is where we got to. We've got the manifold and we've got the first part of the downpipe done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our mock-up turbo, bowl back the manifold back on the car, and then we can finish mocking up these two final bits, which will point the downpipe to underneath the floor pan. And from there we can actually finish it off. Right, so scrap that. the new turbo has actually just turned up. This is the actual one we're going to use on the Puma. Now, yes, it's a cheap Chinese one that you see on eBay. Usually around, sort of like 140, 150 quid, depending where you look. Now, the listing was a bit confusing. I honestly thought I'd ordered a T25 copy, but it's actually coming to T28. It's a bit bigger than the turbo I wanted to put on the Puma, but since it's a budget turbo build, it's just it's going to have to do. So yeah, we've got some size differences compared to the 25. It's huge, but it should still do the power and everything that we need it to do. So we're going to bolt this one to the manifold instead, and then get it back bolted to the engine. So we've got the manifold and turbo assembly bolted back to the engine. I did have to remove the actuator as I couldn't get it past this bar for the brake servo just here. Luckily you can just about see the nuts there. They're easily accessible, so it's not going to be a problem to remove it, remove the turbo assembly. Yeah, so now we've got that on, we'll just go quickly bolt that elbow that we've already welded up. Hopefully it still lines up, and we can carry on with the rest of the downpipe. So this is the space from underneath. We've got a good at least 3/4 inch around a compressor housing to the block, so it's tucked up nice, that has. And we've got plenty of room still access for the exhaust. Now I know the core isn't clocked properly yet, and that's probably going to be one of the last things we're going to do. So we've got plenty of clearance there for a nice intake as well. So this is the downpipe as thus far. Really happy about it's come out. All we've got to do now is do the last piece, which joins from the end of the flexi to the 2-bolt flange, which then makes it to the standard exhaust. So we'll just go offer it back up on the Puma, get it all bolted up onto the turbo, and then we'll get this last piece cut and hopefully have this downpipe finished fairly soon, because I want to go home. So we've got the downpipe all bolted back on. Now it's all one piece. It was a bit of a tight squeeze to get it in there, but just sort of like pushing this hose to one side, we managed to get it in there. So yeah, we've now got it pointing towards this flange. Now from this angle, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but this part of the exhaust, for whatever reason, points like a downward angle. So the flexi is about roughly straight parallel with the floor. That flange is pointing down. So I've skipped ahead this process and I've already done this piece. I've got this piece made up, so we've got a bit of straight with a 10-degree bend in there. So yeah, that goes in there just nice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just quickly put it in there and offer it into the flange. We'll do some markups and we'll get it tacked to the flange ready. And then we'll weld this assembly up to the flange, bolt it back up, mark up where it needs to clock in the flexi, and I'll weld that up, and that will be this job done. that's the downpipe back on the car. Fantastico, just make sure all fits after we've welded everything. We've still got all our clearances between the drive shaft and the steering rack. We've still got a clearance up there for the power steering line. So yeah, now I know it fits, I'm going to strip it all off quickly and just go stick it in a photo booth and take some lovely pictures for it. So that's the downpipe all done, really happy with how it's come out. So we've got all the hot parts ready to go back on the car now. Now these kit here will be available for sale. So what you'll get is you'll get the log manifold and you'll get the downpipe as shown here in 2.5 inch. Obviously they'll be available as a pair. Then all you've got to do is buy yourself a cheeky little turbo to bolt in between the two. Now the kit will work with a T25 and a T28. Obviously this turbo here is a T28, so we know it fits with a T28, or you could go for the smaller brother, the T25. So yeah, if you're looking to purchase one of these kits, just head over to Empire Motorsports Facebook page, and there'll be pricing on there and details on how you can purchase this kit over the next day or so. So that's episode 2 of the Puma build done. We've got the manifold done, we've got the downpipe done, we have now got the turbo bolted to the car. So in the next episode, we're going to be doing the intake manifold finally. All the components have finally arrived for that, so we can crack on with that. So I look forward to that in episode 3. So yeah, if you've enjoyed watching what we're doing to the fucking Puma, like, subscribe, share, notification button, all that bullshit. So yeah, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.